So let's take a slightly closer look at this. Libertarians tell us that determinism is false and free will exists, and that explanation of how free will works can be a coherent explanation. And agent causation, reasons incline but do not require us to act a certain way, is one of these explanations. But let's really think about what would come if free will happened. Okay, let's think about how that would work. My reasons incline me to go to class. Okay. I really, really, really need the material. I really, really, really need to get a good grade in the class. And so on a weighting of 1 to 10, I'm going to give needing the material a 7. Okay. Participation points, I need to pass the class. Any points can help. So I'm giving that a 7 as well. I have another class anyways. It's not wildly important. If that class were canceled, I'd probably still go. So I'm only going to give that a 3. It's pretty outside. We don't get a lot of pretty days this time of year. So I'm going to give that a 6. I like pretty days a lot. I don't want to go to class. Okay, sure. I'm not wild about going and spending an hour and a half in class. And I mean, that can be pretty high. So but we'll give that a 5. Okay, it's sort of middle of the line. All right, so what we see here, we don't have any problem understanding why we go to class, right? I have 3 reasons on the side to go to class, and not only that, but they add up to 17 versus the 2 reasons to go to the park that only add up to 11. The free will theorist says all of that can remain the same. I have an 88% chance of going to class. All of that remains the same. My 88% chance of going to class remains the same, but I go to the park. And when I go to the park, I'm acting freely. When I went to class, I was acting freely. I actually have both paths open to me. And so I get to just go to the park. That's exercising free will. Everything is the way it is. My decision could have been to go to class. I was inclined to do it. And that would have been a free action. My decision would have triggered my volition-enabling property, which would have resulted in my body collecting my stuff, and we would have gone to class. But instead, I decide to go to the park. And I make that decision, and it triggers my volition-enabling properties. And I get up, and I change my clothes, and I gather up my dogs, and we go to the park. So let's say somebody tells you all of that. Somebody says, okay, look, I've gone through the process. I've got my reasons to go to class. I've got my reasons to go to the park. My reasons are weighted so that I go to class. So see, I'm going to the park. What are you going to think? That seems strange, right? You might ask, why are you going to the park? Your reasons, your weights, everything say you should be going to class. Why are you going to the park? Well, it comes down to 2 things. One is, there's no reason whatsoever. I just am going to the park. But that sounds random, doesn't it? That sounds like there's no cause for it. And we already said I don't have control over uncaused things. So that's problematic. What if I told you that one of my reasons changed? What if I told you I got an email saying class was canceled? So this stuff is no longer an issue. And I bump up class canceled. That gets a 10 priority. And now I'm 21 to 3, I'm going to the park. Okay. Did you have any control over class being canceled? No. So what if something else happened? Okay. What if instead of, we can fill anything in for class canceled, right? We can say that my apartment caught fire and I had to go home and deal with it, or I was in a car accident on my way to school, or I got a phone call saying my father was in a car accident on the way to school while I was on my way to school. Okay, we can fill anything in there, and it tips the scale, although I probably wouldn't go to the park, I'd go to the hospital. Okay. But you don't have any control over that added reason, right? So what if your reasons all stay the same? But as you're going to class, that desire to not want to go gets amped up, okay? So now it's a 10. So much so that your desire to get the material and the participation points drop down to 5s. That impulse to just not sit in class for an hour and a half overwhelms you. Now we've got 16 to 13. I'm going to the park. The point here is that if there's a reasonable change in action, in other words, if you change your action and you have reason for it, you don't have control over it. I don't have control over my impulse to not want to go to class, overwhelming and everything. That just comes out of me. I want you to really think about it. Sometimes you can quell it back down, and I'm not sure that that's under your control either. Either another reason is added or a weighting change occurs. But that's not under our control. So reasons outside of us are determining that we change our action. That's determinism. And if the weighting all stays the same and there's no reason, as we saw, it's just randomness. Okay, so this is what I've just been describing here is the mechanics of free will objection. Okay, our free will theorists tell us that our reasons incline us to act so we could do something else. But why do we do that something else? A change in reasons leads us to determinism. No change in reasons is randomness. And the bottom line is, neither of these offers us free will. So the explanation our libertarians give us for how free will is supposed to work, the mechanics, okay, so you can understand the name of the objection, the mechanics of free will lead it to be incoherent and unworkable. Does that make sense? All right. Please, if I lost you somewhere, if you don't quite understand, rewind, re-listen. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Just remember to identify yourself in the email. Have a great week.